Evening all. Hope you're all well. Just been busy packing up. Just on our last evening here in the vacation abode. How you doing, Paolo? Hang on a tick. I just got to start my hotspot. Sorry about that. So I can see the messages on my other phone. And I've just realised that I've uninstalled YouTube on the other phone, so I'm going to need to install that. Here we are. All right, it might take a minute to download, so I'll keep an eye on the screen, so I'll try not to miss any messages. So how you all been? Hope you've been well. I've got one of my pipes which I'm about to load up. Hey, Anthony Alderman, North Carolina. Welcome aboard. I'm going to be smoking some London Fog, which I brought along with me, amongst several other tobaccos. And I'm actually sitting in a car which I purchased just today. If any of you guys have been following my channel, you'll know that I've been dealing with car issues. Thankfully, my wife's car we managed to sort. Rather, my car we managed to sort. But my wife's car is another matter entirely. And that one, I think I'm going to need the time to get it into a garage to repair it and make it in a saleable condition. Hey Tim, how you doing? Yeah, doing well. Smoking some London Fog. I'm just trying to log in my other phone. And it's giving me some issues. I'm trying to log in so that I can see the messages more readily that people are posting. So I'm sorry, I should have done this before. I didn't realize that YouTube was off my phone. I'll be with you in just a jiffy. Apologies. Yes, my daughter did. It's inside. She cut out a shape of a pipe, which was really cute. Um, and she decorated it with some stuff. I bought her an arts and crafts kit the other day to keep her occupied. So she's used it to make that. Okay, we're up and running. I can see messages now. Let me just catch up. So Paolo, hi. Anthony, hi. And Tim, hi. Yeah, so we're up to date. Yeah, so it was, she made me a really nice little pipe. Yeah, 100% Tim. I think sometimes we underappreciate the love that our kids have, and they just, all they want to do is please you. Sometimes when you lose your rag and you shout at them or something like that, you lose your temper. Afterwards, you just regret it. But I've got this ongoing debate with my wife. She mollycoddles them completely, whereas I try to keep a balance. I've got a boy who's 7 years old, a very, very canny lad. He's got all the best answers for everything. Every argument, he's got an argument against. But he wraps my wife around his little finger. He plays her unbelievably. Typical example. Hey Tony, how you doing? A typical example is my wife makes supper, or whoever. If I make it on holiday, usually I make the suppers. And tonight we had shoulder of lamb, don't you know? And it was very good. It was polished off to the last sinew. Um, yeah, that's really sad, Tim. Sorry to hear that. I know you've mentioned it before. Um, yeah, so we it's a kind of good cop, bad cop kind of situation, which I think is a balance which a lot of families have, and children know how to play on that as well. There's no doubt about that. They know which parent to go to for a particular thing that they want. But a typical example for my son would be a meal is prepared. I don't like that. No, I don't want any of it. So my wife will say, "Okay, what do you want?" And I'll say, "No, don't offer him something else. He either eats it or he doesn't have supper." Now I wouldn't say that every single time, because obviously some things he genuinely might detest, and I'm certainly not interested in forcing him to eat something he detests. But for a big part of the time, it's just him being a kid, and I've got him to accept a few times. Um, I won't play the card very often, otherwise he wouldn't agree to it. But some things, for instance, roast chicken, for example, which he generally likes, but he'll just say, "No, I don't like it." Now I'll take a tiny piece, put it on a fork, and say, "Here, have this piece of chicken. Try it. Trust me, you're going to like it." Sometimes he'll like it, and then he'll just be non-stop. He can't have enough of it, and he'll polish off as much chicken as will allow him to have. And sometimes it's a non-starter, and he's not interested, and he won't accept it. Um, but like I say, it's always a balance. It's a balancing game. So I'm a little harsher with the kids, not in an angry, nasty, abusive kind of way, but I'm trying to kind of tip the balance so that whilst my wife is completely the opposite direction, there's got to be some balance. Otherwise, these kids will grow up maladjusted and they'll be used to getting everything. It's not even about them being spoiled. It's about them not being able to cope with a negative situation. It's not just about eating supper. Tonight, another example. No, not tonight. This morning, my wife made an omelette for the kids for breakfast. And my son, the same one, said, "Are there mushrooms in it?" My wife said, "No." So he said, "Oh, well, in that case, I don't want it." "Hey, Boris, how you doing?" So he said, "In that case, I don't want it. If there's no mushrooms, I'm not having it." So I said to him, "Don't be stupid. Don't be childish. You're a big boy. You're a clever boy. You know very well that it makes hardly a darn bit of difference whether it has mushrooms or not. You might like it with mushrooms. So next time when mummy makes an omelette, ask her to put a mushroom in it. But if there's an omelette here and it doesn't have a mushroom, it's fine. So you don't have to make a whole song and dance about it just for the sake of making a song and dance about it." He had to have his way, and he didn't have the egg, and I didn't force him to have the egg. I let it ride. But the point gets across, and this is something which I've been telling my wife for years now. Because sometimes I will sort of try to drum something into the kids, and she'll say, "You're wasting your time, forget it, don't bother." And I say to her, it's not a waste of time. Because all that drumming, even if you don't see the immediate effect, they're receiving the message. And it may only take effect in 10 years' time. But without that foundation of that message, then receiving that message, they might rebel against that message for a good number of years. But that message, in order for them to rebel it, they have to internalize it and then to rebel it. So they have to have understood it. They have had to realize the point I'm making, and then they can say, "No, I'm not going to agree to it." But they know that they're rebelling, and therefore, when they mature and realize that they don't want to be rebellious, they will have the foundation of what is good and what isn't good. So I very much make the point. When the point needs to be made, I ensure to make the point. And I think between us, we get the balance. I think the more that my wife mollycoddles them, the more that I have to give the balance. And they know that they call it that I'm the strict one, but I love them to bits, and they love me to bits. I know that, thank God. So I know, and they know there's no malice behind my strictness because I always explain everything to them. I try to give them the foundation, the knowledge, to understand why I'm saying a particular thing. And most times they'll get it themselves anyway. Most kids, when they're being naughty or rebellious, they know that they're being rebellious and naughty. And what bothers me is when I see them watching the box sometimes, they watch some cartoons or they watch some other stuff, and you see the kids in the way they answer back to the adults. I cringe when I see it because when they watch the stuff and they just absorb those messages, a kid saying to an adult, "You're crazy," or "You're nuts," or "I hate you, I'm going to kill you," that kind of stuff. The more they hear that kind of stuff, and it's continuous, there's no let up. And the more they hear that stuff, the more it becomes normality. And it does bother me. I don't let them watch very much. On vacation, they get a bit of an overdose of watching, especially if the weather's difficult, whether it's too hot or too wet. In the UK, we're used to extremes, usually in the rainy extreme. This week's weather has been very unusual. We've been very lucky here with the weather, but to be honest, it's been too hot to really do anything outdoors for any length of time. So although we've been out this time, a lot of the time we spent was in the garden here. We bought a couple of little paddling pools, filled them with water, and the kids had a blast. Yeah, I can. Hi, Lucas. I was listening to some well-known speaker, and he was talking about food and his mum. And he said one time he came home after school or after playing or whatever it was, and he said to his mum, "What's for supper?" His mother gave him a steely look and said, "Food is for supper. Food is not that important. You don't need to know what's for supper. You need to know that you have a hot meal waiting for you, and that's it. Doesn't matter what it is. You need nourishment. Food is not something, although I'm not sure I agree with that entirely because I'm quite a foodie, and food is a huge industry. And when you cook something, for me, I take a lot of enjoyment in cooking, and I don't just bung stuff in the oven. I want it to taste good, and I'll try to get some kind of depth of flavor and variance of flavors. But the point she was making was a good point, though. You're getting food. Don't worry about what it is. As long as it's nutritious and it fills you up and it warms you, that's the main thing. So somebody asked how the vacation has been, Anthony. It's been a change of pace, which is what it is most times. We only went away for a short break this time. Cheers. But it's been a nice change of pace. The area that we've come to, very good. Crap, this sugar. Nowadays, it's exactly that. So it's been a change of pace. I have to be honest, the area that we're in, not much going on. Usually, most areas that we go to, we do a bit more research. This one was very short notice, so we just took what we could find. Um, Usually, we'd go. We still prefer countryside, but there's usually within, say, 30 to 45 minutes, there's usually an attraction somewhere. There's a kids' farm or there's a theme park or something like that. But with COVID, pretty much everything is shut. So very, very little for the kids to do. Very little. So really and truly, the place to have been really was the seaside. But to be honest, it was too hot to go to the seaside. And we generally, during the heat of the summer, we don't go to the seaside because we just feel that it's too immodest. And you're trying to bring up kids in a religious kind of way. It's kind of contrary to that upbringing. So we don't go to the beach generally during the summer. The feature where the yards are you talking about my other video from the other night, Ken? I don't really know that much about it. It was really just an assumption which I made. But the countryside is a great place. As I said in one of my videos the other day, if I could afford to have a second home, that's what I would do. Is I'd get a countryside home, something within say an hour, 90 minutes drive, something which is manageable. You know, an hour's drive, an hour and a half's drive can actually be a great way to just relax, wind down as you go come away from London, the hustle and bustle of London. More than that, when you're driving 3, 4 hours, that's too much. But if you're gonna have a second home, it's got to be close enough so that it's not a chore to get there. Mm. Well, there's plenty of barns and stables and all that kind of thing here. No shortage. What a lot of people have done is they've converted the barns and made second homes and rent them out for holidays or even sold them off. A few years back, we went for I think 3 years on the trot. Excuse the pun. We went to the same place. It was a converted barn, a beautiful home, and the guy who built it, obviously together with the builders, but he himself was a builder. He lived next door, and essentially they had a farm which had a couple of barns. They converted them and they rent them out. And we would have continued to go, except they found a tenant, a long-term tenant, a full-time tenant, not just for summer holidays. Somebody who was renting it throughout the year. So we lost out on that. It was a really beautiful place. I think the second year that we went, he built a really, solid, like you find in parks, a solid climbing frame for the kids to play on. We had a great time with him. We went once during Christmas as well, and we really got on with him. We sent him cards, and he brought a little gift over for the kids. I remember when we cooked the Sabbath meal, we were there over the weekend one of the times. We were there for, I think one time we were there for 3 weeks. So we gave him some of our Sabbath food, which he really liked. And we really got to know the guy. It's a shame that it's all over. But that one was quite a drive. That was in Hereford, just south of Wales, I think. I think that was a 3.5 hour drive. So I would have, if I had the money, bought a place like that, but it's just a little bit too far to own that. Well, I think we've just got a power cut. It's gone black. I think we just got a power cut. Something weird just happened. Either that. Oh, it's 12 o'clock, so maybe all the lights go off. Yeah, I've not seen that before. I suppose that makes sense. I think the street lights go off at 12 around here. Yeah, Top Gear was great. It really was. They did show a lot of the countryside, and they wrecked a lot of it and all. At least it looked like they did, dropping caravans all over it. Should we go for a little drive? Seeing as all the lights are off. You up for a drive, people? Went for a drive the other night when I was doing that cigar video, that Trinidad. And I was really surprised not to have seen many animals at all. In case some of you missed it, I'm driving a new to me car today. I bought a car this afternoon. It's a Mazda 6. And I bought it expensive for the car, but not a lot of money, if that makes sense. It's an older car. It's an 06, 2006, but it's got low mileage. It's got low mileage and in very, very nice condition, good specification. Really ideal because it would certainly tide me over for as long as I want, really. I could either keep it and just stick with it, or I could use it as a stepping stone. The main purpose of this car was not to spend a fortune, so that I could possibly repair my wife's car and then sell it once it's in roadworthy condition. Because I didn't really want to be in a rush with it and have to give it away for nothing or part exchange it and get nothing for it. Because that's usually what happens. You're in a rush, you're desperate to buy a car, and you end up giving it away cheaply. So at the moment, I'm driving this car and my wife's driving my car. And when I get back to London, I'll set about trying to sort out my wife's car. And I won't be in any rush. And as I say, I didn't spend too much money, so it's not breaking the bank. So this is a saloon car. It's a 5-seater hatchback, which means that I can get plenty gear in it. It's got a decent sized boot or trunk, as you'd call it in the States, and I can fold the seats down. So I should be fine. It should be okay for when I'm doing night photography jobs and that kind of thing. But it's certainly more than adequate as a stopgap. And the other option I'll have is that if I can get the wife's car properly sorted out, I could sell that and this and step up to something decent for myself. Yeah, Ken, exactly. I've been down that road before when you're desperate and the dealer knows that you're desperate and you end up taking nothing. I've had that situation before. Funnily enough, with the same make of car, the same Toyota that we both have been driving. We've had probably over the last few years, we've probably had half a dozen of them. Because of the size, because of the amount of seats, we've needed that for the kids. And the last time the same thing happened, the engine went. Usually what causes it is the radiator pops and you don't realize it. It overheats and the engine overheats and usually one of the cylinders or something like that cracks and that's the engine gone. So at least on this occasion, I won't be carless. My wife was very nervous about the school beginning, and she was really getting on me about sorting out the car. And she wanted me to search one out here while we were away, so that she didn't have to worry about not having a car. Because ultimately, if I need the car, I've got to use the car because I use it for my living. So that's got to come first. So she was very nervous about not having a car. So I think she's relieved. I think she was also very happy to get my car. I think she preferred, although we both had exactly the same car, I think mine was possibly in slightly better condition. So I think she's happy. I'm not actually sure where I'm going. I'm just following my nose, to be honest. The one thing this car doesn't have is a roof rack. Not a roof rack, I mean, it doesn't have that either, but I can put one in. But it doesn't have a sunroof. It's got air conditioning. It's got climate control, which is very good. It works well. But it doesn't have a sunroof. What I used to do in the Previa was just tilt up the sunroof to let the smoke escape. Hey Art, how are you doing? Thank you for the various messages you've left me. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean the Japanese cars generally seem to be very reliable. and I prefer to go for the engines which are, more run of the mill, not the heavy advanced ones, because they tend to have too much going on, and I prefer something basic and reliable. So Honda, Toyota. This car now, which I got today, is a Mazda. I've not had a Mazda before, and I'm so far very impressed with it, and I hope it stays that way. It's a similar kind of size to the Ford Mondeo, which I had. I had one of those a couple of years back. Well, it's more than a couple of years, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and also actually was very, very good. The Mondeo. The Ford has got a reputation of being a workaday, workhorse kind of car, and but that one was actually really nice. I enjoyed driving it. It ended up being a bit small for me at the time, but this is a little bit bigger, this Mazda, and it seems to be doing well. It goes fast if I want it to, handles the road well. All in all, it's a pretty decent car. As I say, I paid over the book price because of the low miles. It's an '06, so what are we, 14 years old? So it's not a young car, but it's only got 68,000 miles on it, which is pretty low for that age. And it drives like it as well. It really feels tight. All the all the equipment in the car feels tight. The drive on the road feels solid. The steering is solid. So hopefully, please God, it will stay that way. So it was worth paying a bit extra for that. And it's automatic and petrol. Nowadays, especially in the countryside, everything's diesel and everything's manual. So to get automatic in petrol is really, you pay a premium for it. I'm going to have to put my sat nav on the other car, on the other phone rather, so I know where I'm going. So tomorrow, heading back home in the morning. We've officially got to be out of the house by 10 a.m., which is really early actually. When you're on holiday, you don't want to be getting up at 7 o'clock. So I've done as much of the packing as possible tonight. 90% of it is already in the car. So just the stuff that we're using in the morning and the clothes that we're wearing will have to go in the car in the morning. So hopefully it won't take too long to get packed up. Did any of you guys enter Eldritch Pipes giveaway? I didn't actually. I was thinking about it, but time I got around to it, it was already all done and dusted. I've been wanting to get one of his pipes quite some time now. He will do a 9mm if I want him to. I have been slowly kind of picking up some artisan pipes, some pipes which are a little bit higher end. The most recent one being the Michael Burke's pipe, a very, very nice pipe. And hang on, Tim, let me just go back to it on the other phone. Well, Phil won it. Did he really? Good for him. Hi, Daniel. How you doing? Thank you for your advice, Daniel, about leasing a car. In the end, I decided to I actually bought a car today, I bought a cheaper rent car, but a really nice car, good condition, low mileage, something to see me through for the medium term, possibly even long term. We'll see how it goes. Getting my gear in it when I do a wedding, that's really the test. Is if I can comfortably get everything in that I need to get in, there's no reason why this shouldn't be a long termer. That chinking is some glasses that my wife bought today. We've broken a few glasses at home, so replacement. It's one thing for some reason, and it's almost inevitable, is that when we're on vacation, we tend to replenish the stuff that we've been meaning to buy for a long time. We've got the time to kind of relax and think about getting those kind of things that we need to get. And it ends up always being expensive for some reason, holidays. Even without that, they're expensive, but still. The kids come away happy, the wife comes away happy. That's the main thing. The driving position in this car is really very different. The Toyota Previa that I had, so it's high on the road. It's an MPV. It's you're driving in a high position. It's as high as a van, so you really do feel on top of things, and it gives you a very good view of the road. Just gives you a feeling of security because you're high up. And in a car, it's very different. You're also kind of laid back. The seat is a little bit sort of tilted backwards. I did see some animal crossing the road, but I'm not sure what it was. There we go. Right, now I can see our messages. Let's have a look. So how many pipes did you do, Tim? How many pipes did Chris give away? Yeah, Daniel, leasing does make a lot of sense, but it's not for me. As you say, it's horses for courses, and it's not for me. I'd feel the pressure too much, of the car getting damaged or anything like that. I'm one of these guys. I don't like sort of living on credit. I like knowing that I own something, and I think the pressure of having a leased car and making sure that it remains pristine, because everything else will get deducted. I think I wouldn't like that. Mm. I think that hobby block. There was on the UK TPC. There was it was a COVID-19 lockdown sort of thing, which I think it was Chris Parry who set it up, and he basically challenged, or she challenged people to make a pipe, and then they were going to make some kind of draw or something like that. I don't know if it actually happened, but there was also a group of pipe makers who were going to do it, and I said I'd do it as well. I actually bought the hobby block. You weren't supposed to use a normal piece of briar. You were supposed to do it from a hobby block, so everybody's kind of on a level playing field. I bought the hobby block. It's still sitting on my bench, so I've never got around to it. Yeah, it's a good suggestion, Daniel. I get why you suggested it. It's got advantages. Um, I think it's great for motorway driving and that kind of thing. And a lot of people, they just do that. That's the norm. That's just what they do. I think in London, the chances of getting damage on the car is quite high, and it's just a little bit too risky for me. I don't know why, but I've got the passenger side window is misting up. I don't know if there's some kind of water ingress there or something. And I think that the dealer actually was trying to pull the wool over my eyes, because when I took the car for a test drive, I noticed it in the corner there on the passenger side, and they said they'd actually been, when they valeted the car, that area was made wet when they did it. I don't know what that's all about, but the bottom line is it's misting up. And he said it will mist up until it all evaporates. I don't know. I have to investigate that. I bought a Mazda 6. It's a Mazda 6 TS, I think it's called. It's a 2-liter engine, a nice spec. I can show you what the inside looks like, at least the lit up section. Hang on. It's got a nice dashboard. It's got a Tiptronic gearbox, which is nice. I used that today. So all in all, it's a nice little car. Hey, C Smokes, how you doing? Yep, hopefully it behaves itself and I won't have any disasters with it. It will keep me going for a while. Well, aren't you the lucky one? All the best, Tim. Thanks very much. I've got no particular reason to hide my face. It's just been a thing which has kind of evolved on the channel, so I've kept it that way. The original reason, going back all the way to the beginning, was some issues that I had with some identity theft at that time. So I was very weary about these kind of things and how much of myself I put out on the internet. But that's no longer an issue. But because the channel went in that direction, I just decided to keep it that way. And so, yeah. Yeah, the interesting thing, Art, is that it's just in the left, on the left passenger window in the corner. So I don't know if it's something to do with the vent, if there's some kind of humidity in there somewhere, but it's just that that quarter of the window, and it kind of mists up, and it kind of steadily grows, and it's covering almost half the window at the moment. That sounds interesting, Daniel. Some people would use stuff like Windolene, that kind of thing, something with a bit of vinegar in it, which tends to help with that. Let me put the AC on and see if that makes a difference, because often that will make a difference. How you doing, Kirk? Sweet of coffee. What is the time now? 12:30 almost. Another good thing about this car is that it has plenty of cup holders, and the cup holders are wide enough to take my coffee cup, which my other car doesn't. Tariq Piper Skip, how you doing? The rental house is very, very nice. It's nicer than my house. And we always generally rent houses which are nicer than our own, so that kind of adds to the specialness of the holiday. Well, it's been really hot here as well, Kirk. It's been around 30, between 32 and 34 degrees. Well, the AC has cleared the misting. That's interesting. Well, I certainly hope so, Art. I'm not going to be looking forward to having to change the transmission on the vehicle, but it seems to be okay, and hopefully it'll stay that way. Smoking some London Fog, which, as most of you will probably know, is Virginia Woods with Orlick Golden Sliced. I've probably been smoking Orlick Golden Sliced more than any of the other blends while I've been away. It seems appropriate for the hot weather, being a brighter Virginia. I've had a Honda Civic in the past, but it's just too small for me. I did see a couple of Honda Civics when I was looking for cars now, but just a little bit too small for me. I do like them though. They're bigger than they used to be. But I was looking for the next one up. So it's like a Honda Accord, that kind of thing. What I would have wanted is a Honda Accord or a Toyota Camry, that kind of thing. And this is the same. It's Mazda's version of it. This is your bog standard family saloon car, although it's a hatchback, the 5-door. It's not on a stake. Well, I think in America you'd call it a station wagon, possibly. Yeah, I would have gone for a Prius, but they're just too pricey. Because you got to be careful not to get the minicab, the taxi ones, because they're high milers and they've literally used all day long. And it's the most commonly used car for taxis. Hello, hello, hello. Steph and Skip. Too hot to breathe. Well, we haven't got it as hot as you guys, but we've had it hotter than we're used to. That's for sure. I don't know how I would cope out there in the States now. But you guys are used to it. You get those extremes every year, don't you? London fog is one of your favorites. Have you made it up with the original stuff or used Sutliff match blends? Mm. It looks like everybody's getting a really hot summer this year. I'm not sure what that's telling us about the planet, but who knows? The one thing I do need to sort out in here is somewhere to keep my pipe. Camry hybrid would be awesome. I don't think we can get it here in the UK. I don't think we can get a Camry at all anymore. So if you want to go up, then you got to go to Lexus, and then you get a hybrid Lexus. But just too pricey for me. I I did see when I was looking, I saw advertised a Lexus, one of the big ones, the 4x4. I don't know what they call them. Um, had 150 or 160,000 miles on it. It was cheap. It was like 3.5 grand, 4 grand. It was one of the early ones, but it was a hybrid. But I just wasn't prepared to take the risk on a car with that many miles. Well, Daniel, that's certainly happening. I mean, there's a lot of polar ice melting, and the habitat of the polar bears is reducing quite significantly. So that's true. A lot of them are dying out. Has he gone live? Has Mike gone live now? I don't want to encourage on his live. Has he started? Anyone? Has Mike started? I'll just check myself. No, doesn't look like it started yet. What time does he start? Would he normally be starting now? Maybe he's holding off. Maybe better get off now. What time does he start? Anyone? All right. Well, it's as good a time as any. Thanks, everybody. Hope you're all enjoying your vacations. We're heading back home tomorrow, all being well in the morning. It's been a nice little break. It's not working. It's not on, or you know that he's trying and he can't get on because it's not working. I can't actually see that he's going live. I'm looking at my subscriptions. He was live and he's gone off again. Well, I used to have same kind of issues, but anyway, I'm going to go off now. Thanks everybody for joining. I certainly don't want to step on Mike's toes, so I wish you all well. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one. Good night, everybody. Good night. Who have we got? Good night, Stephen Skip. Good night, Boris. Good night, Art. Good night, Daniel. And Tariq, Piper, Skip, Kirk, Sea Smokes, and everybody else. Thanks very much. Catch you on the next one.